Well, good morning. Let's talk about global cues early this morning. How are cues looking? Let's first talk about the US. Well, the Dow, the S&P 500 as well as the Nasdaq, all three were lower in trade yesterday, but marginally lower. In fact, the Dow was down around 0.3% in trade, where the S&P 500 is concerned, down around 0.9%, and the Nasdaq down nearly 1% in trade yesterday. So, they were negative, but the futures on all these three indices are currently marginally positive. So there's a mild positive coming through with regard to all these three indices. What is going to be in focus? Well, Wednesday. We are at Wednesday. This means June CPI inflation numbers are going to be out. The street expects the US June CPI inflation numbers to come at 8.8%. When we're looking at where India CPI came in, it came in at 7%. That's exactly where we expected it to be. So now the focus will move towards how world inflation is looking. Even for Indian markets, that will be the focus. So that's point number one. Point number two is earnings. Delta Corp is set to release its earnings on Wednesday, but on Thursday, two major banks, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, set to declare their results for Q1 FY23 or Q2 calendar year 22. So focus again will be on earnings. Inflation is where it will be, and that's where the negative drag currently on US indices in the cash market is. Moving quickly on to Europe. Well, Europe was positive. In fact, mind you, Europe is benefiting from that, or rather the exports in Europe are benefiting from the US dollar leverage that it is gaining. In fact, the US dollar continuing to strengthen, and the dollar and euro parity has reduced to a marginal level. And that means that European indices were up. When we're looking at the DAX, up around 0.5%, Stock 600 also up around 0.5%. So both those indices up. When we're looking at the UK, up around 0.1% in trade, yesterday. So positive cues coming out of Europe. Moving quickly on to how Asia is looking, and I'll load the live rates there. Asia is largely positive as we speak. When we're looking at the Nikkei, it's up around 0.33%. The Shanghai also up around 1/5. The Hang Seng is up around 0.9%. The ESX 200 absolutely flat but trading with a positive bias, up around 0.1%, and the Kospi up around 0.9%. So positive cues across the board, especially when we're looking at Asia. Why is that so? Well, moving to commodities, that's why. Oil prices have come off their highs. They were at $102 a barrel early this week, $103 a barrel earlier this week. They've come off. They're below the $96 a barrel at the moment, and Brent is below the $100 a barrel mark, quite a benchmark there when we're looking at Brent coming off those highs. So that's really what's pushing markets higher. The SGX Nifty 2 is up around 0.2%. So positive cues, mildly positive cues coming through for even the Indian indices. But the focus also continues to be on the other commodity, which glitters, gold. Gold has come off its highs from that $1,750 an ounce to around the $1,725 an ounce mark as dollar continues to gain. And as dollar continues to gain, as the safe haven currency continues to gain, gold is losing some of its shine, and that's what's happening at the moment. The dollar is above, or the dollar index is above 108, and that's pushing gold prices lower. Bond yields, that will be in focus as the inflation number comes through. Bond yields currently, the 10-year US bond yield holding out at 2.98%, fallen a few bips but came back up in early trade today. That's where we're looking at it. And cryptos continue to be in focus as inflation continues to be in focus as the alternate currency. So crypto, which had come off that 21,000 mark, which was where it was last week, came off that early this week. Now it's around that 19,500 mark is where Bitcoin is. Again, Bitcoin was the benchmark which I've taken for 21,000 as well. So that's where Bitcoin currently is, around 19,500, come off its highs, but it was in the loss in early trade today. It's reversed some of those losses in early trade today. So we're seeing some reversal on Bitcoin as well, and cryptos, larger crypto basket as well. That's where we're looking at it. At the moment, Asia looks positive, and so does India. Mildly positive, but positive nonetheless. We're hoping for a positive start in Indian indices today.